Hello gorgeous friends, welcome to my channel MANNA. My name is Adalina Bonn. Friends, please excuse my sort of souped up bed here. It's a little bit rough and DIY this morning, but I'm coming to you on the weekend. Obviously it's not my usual format, but as you know, I'm very candid on this channel, and I might do a video about my lupus recovery journey. And some of you may remember about 4 months ago now, I did a video about tracking and surveillance and targeted individuals. And unfortunately, this is a bit of an update off that video. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to pause this message. I've just linked to my original part 1 of this theme or issue in my life. So you might want to watch that. I think I did it in about April or just the start of May when I came back from New Zealand. Anyway, I'm not going to recap that video. I'm going to keep this one quite brief. I'm doing this to raise awareness and to ensure my safety and the safety of the ones that I love, because there is strength in numbers and there is strength in high visibility, you know. But essentially, since about January this year, it's now been going on for about 8 months. I realized I started to. We're such intuitive beings, right? We're such intuitive people. We know when we're out in public. We can sense when people are watching us. You know, we're intuitive people. And it was around about January. This was when I had my mailing list open to the public still, basically, and I was still doing my small group circle and interacting a lot with the public. And the tone of emails that started to come through, something just felt off. It didn't feel like genuine people contacting me. It started to be a noticeable influx of what I would call fake subscribers, fake donations, where they were sending me these really over-the-top messages in quite a mocking, disingenuous tone. But it was specifically, I've just got some bullet points here. I'm not here to draw conspiracy theories. I'm not here to make any kind of assumptions. I'm just laying out a few bullet point highlights of the last 8 months, but bearing in mind it's been a barrage of experiences like this. These are just some salient highlights. One email particularly started to come through from a Lizzie or an Elizabeth, and she was in quite a disingenuous, again, it's this over the top, oh, Adalina, exclamation mark, you know, quite over the top disingenuous tone. And she was quoting direct lines from conversations I'd had on the phone that day or week, personal conversations, as if she'd, you know, obviously had access to my phone lines and my WhatsApp messages. And at the beginning, you just brush it off thinking, no, I'm just imagining this is serendipity. But very, very, you know, distinctly, I was getting messages from an Elizabeth, or she referred to herself as Lizzie, and quoting, referencing exact sentences and phrases that nobody on the planet could know that I'd been talking about on my phone with my mum, you know, references to places that I'd frequented that day or that week. So that was Lizzie. I then had a guy infiltrate my small group circle. And I knew I used to open up my small group circle bookings once a month, and the orders would come in. And I opened up the small group booking, and he came in within 60 seconds with a really over-the-top Italian name that just didn't seem like a real name. And I knew straight away this was a joker. This was not a genuine booking from a client. Normally, all of my clients for the small group circles are women. And so I knew that this was an imposter, but to honour the other women that had booked in, I still proceeded with my small group circle for that month. And also out of a bit of curiosity, I just thought, I'm interested to see what the cards might say about this person that claimed to man or woman, whoever it might have been. And sure enough, the cards were very clear in the message. It was imagery about a shark, charm of a shark, someone quite dangerous. And I was getting an image of someone very suited and booted, you know, like with a Rolex watch. It was very specific imagery. And I can't, as you know with the style on my channel, I can't make up my intuitive insights if I tried. I see what I see, you know, and I deliver the message. Sure enough, I got a response from this man, if it was a man. First line of his email in that very disingenuous mocking style. Oh, Adalina, you're so accurate. You're your message was so accurate for me and spot on about my suited and booted dress sense. He said something like, yeah, I do. I dress like a proper Windsor. I dress like a proper Windsor. And that was his first line of his email. So again, I'm not drawing conspiracy theories here. I'm just laying out, you know, a sequence of events. So it really started to become noticeable with Elizabeth, commenting on information, sentences, places I'd frequented that nobody could possibly know, unless this Elizabeth or Lizzie is a gifted psychic and clairvoyant. One could only deduce that she has access to top-level surveillance systems, really, followed by this imposter that came into my small group circle shortly after, joking that he dresses like a Windsor. A few days after that, I'm just laying out experiences, people. A few days after that, I was on my way to hospital for a hospital appointment, and I was sitting at a cafe, seating on the outside, so I was right by the road. And bearing in mind that my hospital's in quite a poor area of London, there's lots of graffiti and homelessness in this particular area of London. And so given the context of the environment, it was just very, very strange that as I was sitting basically on the pavement table, having a quick hot drink before going to hospital, this massive Bentley started to come up the road, with a huge souped up Bentley with blacked out tinted windows. And, you know, just in the context of this particular neighborhood, it was bizarre. I mean, I've lived in London for years. I've never seen a blacked out Bentley driving through a very kind of rundown poor area like that. In all my time that I was living in South London, I never saw a blacked out Bentley. But anyway, I'm sitting there having a coffee. This Bentley comes up and it's 2 meters away from me on the curb. It fully slows down, basically almost to a stop, 2 meters in front of me. And then slowly picked up speed and moved on. So this was all within sort of a day or a couple of weeks. These events, emails from Lizzie, the guy claiming to dress like a Windsor in my small group circle, a Bentley going past me at the hospital. I've since moved from London. I'm now in a completely different city, and I had an outright stalking experience recently. I called my mum immediately, so my mum knows all about this. Essentially, so this is now the fourth example. These are just key highlights, by the way, guys, and I'm trying to keep this brief. And bearing in mind that this is in a wider, as some of these experiences are happening, I'm also just receiving constant strange emails as well. Okay, so there's a larger backdrop constantly to what's been happening as these experiences are happening in physical and real time. So it was about 2 or 3 or 4 weeks ago now, here in my new city. I'm sitting at a Chinese restaurant right by the window, and I'm just, you know, alone. I'm just having a dinner on my own, having a chicken chow mein. And this guy dressed in regular civilian clothes, he looked like he had an earpiece. He was sort of, he had an earpiece or a mobile phone, and he was just coming down the road, and he was talking, and then it was something out of a Maxwell Smart scene, you know, 99 and Maxwell Smart. He just suddenly stopped dead, sort of as if he'd received an instruction, maybe. I'm just positing an idea here, to stop right there because Adalina's in the restaurant. And he was walking, fiddling around with what looked like an earpiece in his ear. He stopped dead in his tracks and then swiveled as if by instruction. He turned to look me straight across the road at me directly, sitting there in the window of the restaurant, and he just stopped and stared like that. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is fucking bizarre. And he didn't just walk off, and, you know, he then put his sort of, whatever his earpiece was, put it in his pocket, leant back up against the wall, and sort of just stood there a few meters in front of me, watching me eat my frickin' dinner for about 20 minutes. And would occasionally, you know, look down at his phone and pretend to be doing a text, but it was like, he's walking down the street looking like a normal person, suddenly stops dead in his tracks as if he'd received an order, you know, to stop right there, turns around to clock me directly, and then proceeds to just sit there and stare at me for 20 minutes whilst I finish my dinner. So rather than leaving the restaurant and going to my car, I pretended to go up the road and do a bit of shopping just it was an extremely uncomfortable experience, to say the least. Okay, as a lot of us ladies know, unfortunately, it's a part of the female journey that we can often be out and about and have some guy maybe trailing behind us, but this was quite an extreme stop-start, and he was, yeah, anyway, I went up the road to pretend to do a bit of shopping and I took about 15 or 20 minutes just to make sure I could shake this guy off. I didn't want him to know where my car was. Sure enough, though, 15, 20 minutes later, I come back past the Chinese restaurant. He's still there. And at this point, he'd crossed the road to basically be where I had been sitting, pretending to look through the window of the Chinese restaurant at the menu. It was beyond effing creepy. Okay, so I called my mum straight away. I just, I've got that on record. I've made a phone call to my mum about that. It's just weird anomalies as well, monitoring me in real time. So I've been, as you know, I've moved to the studio recently. I've had a lot of furniture deliveries coming to the studio. And it's very mainstream furniture companies like Argos and, some of the, Argos, DHS, very mainstream, Amazon. And in all my years of purchasing furniture and bits and bobs for the house from major retailers, I've never once in my life had bogus insurance offers come in the moment my stuff has been delivered. So I'll explain what I mean. For example, I received a furniture delivery. This has happened about 2 or 3 times in the last 4 weeks. I've been receiving furniture, or I've received a parcel, and then within minutes, I'll go and get a bogus email from a company that doesn't exist, but it's been specifically, bespokely designed to look like a legitimate email, look like a legitimate company, but when you look them up online, they don't exist. And it's quoting my details in real time, saying, "Dear Adalina, we've just noticed that you've received a parcel in the last 10 minutes at this address," and they'll quote my address. "If you're interested in receiving some private insurance, click on this link," and it's a complete bogus address. So again, people, this has got no link to Amazon. It's got no link to the company I've just purchased off of, and I've never had that before with receiving parcels. And it's all come up. I've had 2 to 3 occurrences of that example happen in the last few weeks. So this is not low-level hacking. It would appear to be quite high-level access to my movements, my phone calls, my locations in real time. Another example, I'm quickly running through here. It goes without saying, all of the vehicles that we drive these days are kitted out with the latest technology. All of the dashboards of the cars these days are Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled. That's just common knowledge. You can receive phone calls on your phone hooked to the dashboard of your car, so you can talk and answer and do your texting hands-free, basically, if you sync your phone with the dashboard of your car. I mean, that's just common knowledge. And so it goes without saying, though, that there's microphones in the dashboard and perhaps hidden cameras, maybe. So I thought, all right then, if I am being monitored, perhaps at a very high level, or dare I say it, at the highest level, again, how would any of us ever prove that? How would the local copper down the road prove that if I went to the police? I mean, where would you start proving some of this stuff? This is a global issue that all of us as citizens of the surveillance state are facing. How do we prove this without looking crazy, So that's why I'm sharing this. I'm just laying out the facts. I'm not drawing any conspiracy theories. This is just what I've experienced. So I did a bit of a test in my car the other day. I thought, all right, if my car's bugged, if my car itself is being monitored, I've recently just started to get very vocal about my opinions. Because if I've got an audience, I'm going to talk. So I'm driving along in the car the other day, and my phone's tucked away. It's in my bag. I've got no other devices in the car. It's just me and my car. And I did an entire skit about how I was Captain Marvel. And I picked a character, a phrase that was quite distinct and unusual, a bit of a red herring, a pink elephant. I just threw it out there to see what might come back. Sure enough, Sure enough, I recently received an email. Bearing in mind, I've never said Captain Marvel on my channel. I've never done a video on YouTube about Captain Marvel. And I got an email recently saying, I love Adalina Bonn in this same disingenuous mocking type of style that I've had for 8 months from these jokers. I love Adalina Bonn. She's my Captain Marvel. She's the oxygen that I breathe. Please pass on my feedback to her. I love Adalina Bonn. She's my Captain Marvel. And I only ever said Captain Marvel about myself alone in my car. So again, this could be pure synchronicity and coincidence. I personally don't think it is. I think my phone, my laptop, the dashboard of my car, my physical movements in real time are all being monitored, tracked, and dicked around with, and I've got no way of proving it. I can only share my experiences, share it with my family, share it with my friends, share it with you gorgeous people here on the tube. My only safety is in visibility. And finally, bringing it forward to the most recent point, my Netflix account. For the last 10 days, unfortunately, I've had about 4 to 5 auto notifications a day of an unauthorized device has logged into your Netflix account. This is happening about 4 to 5 times a day from locations all over the planet. Someone from Afghanistan's just logged into my Netflix, Peru, Washington, New Zealand, Sydney, France. And it's quite high-tech hacking that I'm experiencing. So this is an experiment I'm now doing live with you all. I regularly change my passwords, but to be honest, guys, we all know this. With the level of infiltration that we know the surveillance state has with all of us, any one of us are vulnerable to this type of intrusion. I don't think changing passwords regularly or backing things up on a USB stick is really going to make a scrap of difference here. What's going to make a difference is getting loud, getting proud, getting vocal, sharing our truth with each other without living in fear. And so just this morning, 1 o'clock this morning, an unauthorized login on my Netflix account, and it's psychological abuse, it's emotional abuse. I'm living in a state of trauma. I try to put on a brave face for the channel because I want to live a life of peace. I want to live a life of positivity, but this is a constant background issue for me now, and it seems to be permanent. How can I ever now go back? If I've come up on some kind of a radar and my family or my friends have come up on a radar, how do we prove it? How do we gather together. There's strength in numbers, and we refuse to succumb to fear. So just this morning, I have changed my password. I've already cancelled the Netflix account, but annoyingly, it's not going to close until the 31st of August. So it's still remaining open for another couple of weeks. So what I've done, and of course, these unauthorized logins have been plaguing my inbox. So I've changed the password today of my Netflix account, and we'll just see. This is an experiment now that we're all witnessing this together. If I get another unauthorized login on my Netflix account over the next 2 weeks, and I've only just changed my passwords, then you guys will be the first to know about it. I'm not gonna. I've been keeping a lot back from the public out of shame, fear, stigma that I look crazy. I am not explicitly saying that the royal family is dicking around with my inbox and watching my every move. I mean, if they are, I guess it's a twisted compliment that I have a direct audience with the Queen of England, maybe. Okay, but I'm not directly saying that, but I'm just laying out events and timelines over the last 8 months. Emails from a Lizzie or Elizabeth quoting lines, places I'd been to that week, direct quotes from calls and emails that I'd made. Direct quotes from calls and emails that I'd made that were all private. So either Lizzie is a gifted clairvoyant, or she's somebody involved in the intelligence services. A few days or a couple of weeks after that, someone infiltrating my small group circle that I knew from the start was an imposter, and yes, he, in the same disingenuous mocking tone, confirmed that yes, indeed, he did dress like a Windsor. Okay, a few days after that, I had a blacked out Bentley ghost me on a street curb in quite a poor area of London as I'm going to the hospital. A few weeks after that, I've got what I think was an agent or someone with an earpiece that was directed to stop right outside my Chinese restaurant and stay there for 30 minutes. whilst I went up the road, and then, you know, he continued to stay there. I called my mum immediately after that. Recent furniture deliveries that I've had, receiving bogus insurance claims in real time as I received the delivery from a company that doesn't exist, quoting my exact address and quoting the time frame of, you know, we can see that you've just received a delivery in the last 10 minutes. And I'm standing there with the delivery going, yes, I did just receive a delivery in the last 10 minutes at this, you know, at this address. And I'm standing there going, yes, I am at this address. You know, would you like some fake insurance? I've never had that before ordering stuff offline. My Captain Marvel test in my car, just throwing out the Captain Marvel. I did a whole skit about how I'm frickin' Captain Marvel. And shortly after, I go and receive an email saying, Adalina, you are my Captain Marvel. Please pass on to Adalina that she's my Captain Marvel. Okay, and like I said earlier, I only said that Captain Marvel phrase alone in my car, you know, on my Wi-Fi enabled dashboard. I mean, by the way, it's not conspiracy theory. Vehicles these days are so high tech, they can be accessed and controlled remotely, electronically, digitally. That's not conspiracy theory. That is just fact. Cars these days can be automatically, remotely driven and controlled. The systems of the car. And finally, my friends, the Netflix, which has bloomed in the last 10 days. I'm getting about 4 to 5 unauthorized logins to my Netflix from all over the planet at the moment. I've got no way of stopping this. I will continue to update and change my password. But if it continues, then we'll all see it here on the channel. It's been so unfortunate that my gorgeous assistant Charlotte she's only in her second week with me, and I've had to brief her and say, look, I have been, it would appear that I am the target now of hacking, high-level hacking, or, you know, if you want to draw a few other dots, it's not just hacking. It could be what I personally feel is the highest level of real-time physical monitoring and surveillance. But I've got no way of proving that. These isolated incidents that I've laid out here in this video today, it could be complete coincidence. I would never dream of accusing the royal family of tracking me in real time. I've got no way of proving it, and I don't want to offend anybody. I'm a God-fearing, good human being that's here to love people. I'm not a threat to the system, but if one lady with a packet of fairy cards has been able to draw this much attention, then who's really got the power? Who's really got the power, friends? So I'm going to finish it there, you gorgeous, beautiful people. I'm going to continue sharing now and being public with whatever comes my way in terms of this nasty energy. It's nasty. It's pedophilic. It's intrusive. I say pedophilic in terms of I've drawn a lot of parallels between the surveillance system that we are all under, sort of being like an abusive adult, and we are the children of that. And so to me, all of this surveillance energy is very pedophilic, and we are the children of the system that are suffering from this abuse. So I know that that's quite a strong term to use, but that's how I see all of this intrusive abuse. It's pedophilic in nature. It's got the same energetic signature, and in my opinion, as pedophilia. It's a very, very specific energy or signature. And so it's not comfortable. It's not nice, but I'm not going to live in fear. I've just laid out the facts for you all to maybe make your own conclusions. I've got my gorgeous assistant Charlotte now. She is the gatekeeper. She's fully aware. We're watching the logins every day. I mean, if I'm going to get hacked, again, I'm going to get hacked, but we can only do what we can do. Change the passwords regularly. Stay vocal. Stay transparent with you all. And trust that God or the universe has a reason and you know, a purpose to this experience in my life. So I've got a gorgeous friend coming up today from London. I'm going to have a gorgeous weekend this weekend, and I'm going to not think about this low, dark energy. I'm going to have a great weekend with my beautiful friend, and I hope you all have a great weekend. And I also hope that me stepping out and doing this gives you permission to maybe speak up, because I've kept a lot of this secret, even from my own mum and my family. I've been so ashamed, thinking I'm going crazy. But the moment I started sharing it, speaking up about it, realizing I'm not alone and that there is strength in numbers, I feel like maybe slowly, I can return to feeling like I've got a normal life again, because this thing, I've been able to barely recognize my life in the last 8 months. I can't remember what life was like before having this intrusion in my life. So I know that I'm going to return to a normal life, and being as transparent as I can, and gathering around the tribe and gathering around the family for support is my way that I'm going to continue to try and live a normal life here. So I hope it encourages and inspires you. At the very least, I hope it's thought-provoking. You can draw your own conclusions. I'm not making any assumptions here. I've just laid out the facts. So God bless everybody. Thank you for holding the space for me as always. I'm going to finish it there. And I can't wait to see you on Monday for the Gemini, Cancer and Leo astrology message. Lots of love. Bye.